Hello and welcome to the Christmas edition of the program Capital Market live on Channels Television. I'm Ladi Williams. Great to have you join us. Well, we'll begin with the show with a review of the global markets performance in the holiday shortened week, starting with the U.S. market, which closed on Thursday with a strong rally on the major averages as investors look past earlier jitters about the spread of the Omicron COVID variant. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, S&P 500, and as well as the Nasdaq Composite closed the day higher by more than 0.5%. For the European equities markets, they ended the day in a mixed territory after a thin trading session on Christmas Eve. As traders kept a watchful eye on the latest developments around the Omicron COVID variant. The UK's FTSE 100 index and the France CAC index closed in the red on Friday, down by more than 0.02 and 0.28% each, while Germany's DAX climbed by 1.04%. Meanwhile, shares in Asia-Pacific were mixed on Friday as some major markets in the region, including Hong Kong and Singapore, closed early for Christmas Eve. Japan's Nikkei 225 and the China's Shanghai Composite fell by about 0.56%, while Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index was up by 0.13%. And now to the fixed income market, where the local bond market was mostly quiet this week with minimal volumes traded across the board. At the close of trading on Thursday, the market ended mixed with sell pressure majorly at the short end of the curve. Overall average benchmark yields closed at 8.09%, indicating a week-on-week rise of 0.20%. For the Treasury bills market, it was unchanged for the most trading sessions in the week. At the close of trading on Thursday, the market was bullish, with selling interest seen across all bills. Average benchmark yields for T-bills fell by 0.53%, and while yields on OMO bills fell by 0.16%, while the central bank's special bills dipped by 1.35%. And the unlisted securities market closed the week on a negative note as the market recorded a decrease in performance. The NASD OTC Securities Exchange Index return decreased by 0.69% to close the week at 734 points against the on Friday last week, while NASD investors gained 10.94 billion naira in value. However, there was more than 1,450% increase in total value traded during the week, in contrast to the previous week. And investors traded a total of 650.92 million naira in value. Total volume traded during the week was 26.46 million units. UBN Property PLC emerged as top advancer for the week, while NASD PLC ranked as the only decliner and also top among the 5 most traded securities by volume. Meanwhile, activity on the domestic equities market was negative, with sell-offs seen across several stocks, while sentiment remained weak in 5 trading sessions this week. The market's main indicator dipped by 0.21%, while the market capitalization settled at 22.06 trillion naira, with 47.21 billion naira lost in value. This comes as the volume and value of shares traded on the exchange this week dipped by 26.72% and 18.75% accordingly. Sectoral performance across sectors tracked was mixed as the NGX insurance, consumer goods, and industrial goods, as well as the NGX banking sector indexes closed positive, while the NGX oil and gas was the lone decliner. Mutual benefits led a pack of 33 gainers, up 23.08%. Julius Berger led 24 other decliners, down by 9.88%, while the trio of UACN, FBN Holdings, and Sovereign Trust were major contributors to more than 965 million shares traded this week. All right, now we shift focus to our first segment of the program. It's on the shares of 3 market bellwethers: GT Holding company MTN Nigeria, and FBN Holdings. And to discuss matters relating to these companies, we have our guest in the studio, Mr. Rotimi Fakejo, seasoned stockbroker. Great to have you on Christmas Day. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
All right, so the market performance for the week, we've seen it was red, 3 reds, and about 2 greens. We saw a lot of sell-offs there. What do you think drove sentiment this week?
Well, I think we should first look at it in the aspect of the volume and value traded for the week. I think for the week, we almost ended up with an average daily value of about 2.5 billion naira, as against the usual of 3.54 billion for every other week. And for the sentiment driving the activities for the week, I think a lot of firms shut down maybe early in the week, and a lot of investors too have taken to holiday, and the activities definitely came down significantly. So in terms of sell pressure on the market, I think that wasn't really significant, because the extent to which we had a drop in the share prices and also the oil share index wasn't really as pronounced. So I think it's just the bargain for stocks was very weak for the week, but we want to hope that for the 3 days remaining for the year, there can be an upward swing in terms of volume, value, and also the extent to which investors want to get stocks. I mean, the bargain for stocks during the week.
Okay.
So what I mean by that is we are likely to see an increase in the oil share index, maybe for the 3 days remaining. I believe that there will still be some portfolio arrangements by portfolio managers, selling some and also taking much more. So I think we're still good to go for the year. And with the year-to-date position of 5.32% positive, I think the year hasn't done badly at all.
Okay, well, still looking at the year, what would you say were the major highlights for you in the market?
Well, I think we had some news. I mean, some new events that had never been before. The first one is the listing of the NGX, Nigerian Exchange Group, on the Nigerian Exchange Bourse.
Right.
It was earlier listed on the unquoted equity market, but this time around it has been brought to the main board of the Nigerian Exchange Bourse. So in that wise, I think it was really a major one after a long, drawn demutualization process. So I believe now everything is steady, and all hands are on deck to ensure that the demutualization effect is actually positive for the market, and I think we'll be seeing a lot of that. Another major event is the listing, is the EIPO that MTN did. It's the first ever whereby everything was online.
Quite interesting.
So I think that is the exact place where the market should be heading for. And I really appreciate it that we are heading very fast in that direction. Because with that having been done, we're expecting the subscription level and every other result pertaining to that. But be that as it may, the extent to which investors actually looked out for the stocks, for the particular stock, for that particular equity, that is MTN, and the process was hitch-free, is quite amazing.
It was quite interesting because people that, friends of mine that I knew were not involved in this, in trading on the NGX, were actually very interested in buying this stock.
Exactly.
Is it the marketing, would you say it's the marketing mechanism?
I think now everything is digitalized. We are moving from the extent to which there needs to be a physical contact before shares can be purchased. But we are getting over that. Up to the eve of the last day for the MTN offer, I was still getting calls, and I was still putting a lot of investors through the process, how they should go about it. It took quite a while, but eventually they were able to do it. So they didn't have to go to look for a stockbroking firm. They didn't have to go to the bank to pay the money, and they didn't have to do anything outside the convenience of their home. And I think that is a great leap. And I think that is where also trading should get to at this time. There are a lot of investors interested in trading shares. But because of the the difficulty in actually getting started, I think that is where the real issue is. But with this success of the EIPO, I believe the market is going places in the year 2022.
Well, it'd be great to see more, like this, moving forward in the year. But we did see the share price of MTN actually drop this week. What do you think caused that?
Well, I think as at the time the news about the IPO was arriving in the market, when it was about getting started, the price was as high as 200 naira per share. But because the IPO price happened to be 169, so definitely we expect some readjustment. Some may want to see if they can sell at about 180, then go back and have a spread of about 11 naira by taking the IPO. So that was the exact thing that actually played out. And also the MTN offer actually translated to a lot of liquidity problems in the market. Some was actually selling some of the existing equities in other companies and using the proceeds to take position in MTN. So I think all in a nutshell, I believe that we really are moving forward in the capital markets.
All right, but what's your outlook for the price of this stock, moving forward, say for the first quarter of next year?
Well, it could be hard to say now, because though the financial performance of the stock, of the company, has been on an improvement ladder, but at the same time, we really need to give them time, because the money that is being gotten is not going to be applied as a working capital or whatever in the MTN company. It is an offer for sale and not offer for subscription. Offer for sale, the proceeds goes to those who sold, to the company or the shareholders that sold. But offer for subscription, the money will be coming back to the company. So there is no really a value addition to the company in terms of a new capital coming in. But what is really happening is we are going to have more liquidity for the stock, because the number of investors have now increased, a number of shareholders. So in that wise, it's still very good. So concerning the outlook, I still want to believe that with the licensing of MTN and Airtel, I think strongly that that is going to impact positively on their P&L. And if that happens, that means more dividend return for investors. And we're going to see the price at least stay steady at over 200 as at the time that we begin to see the effect of the new licensing.
Well, it'll be interesting to see, how investors actually play this one. Will it be long-term or, more short-term investors?
Well, I think things are actually changing in the market.
Right.
Because when you look at the return on investment, compared to the yield you will get on a money market instrument, is the one from the equity market is much more. So investors would rather have a more long-term outlook than the short term that they used to have in the past. So if that be the case, then we are going to have less volatility in prices and more the prices being sustainable even at a higher level as trading will commence for the new year going forward.
Okay, well, we did see a lot of activity within the financial services sector in the market. One is GTCO. They became a holding company. But what's happening with GTCO right now?
Well, I think the perception of GTCO is actually changing. What used to stand them out before was a good succession plan and also good corporate governance and profitability, then sustainability. But this time around, I think the succession plan or the succession process that we've just seen is not what it used to be before. And investors, shareholders, market analysts are beginning to see GT in not that good light that it used to have before. So, and that also we know will affect the pricing of the shares. Then definitely we saw a dip in their price during the result released at for the third quarter. Yeah. And I think that kind of drop from about 5 naira 4 kobo earnings per share to about 455 kobo, I think is quite significant.
Quite.
And the question will now be, will they be able to sustain the kind of dividend that they paid last year if they are having reduced profit? That is going to be a big question.
Right.
So investors are now looking at it, can I get another banking stock that can pay me as much dividend and also having a good corporate governance.
So that's
and
the
that
big
also
question.
is a real thing.
Right.
Is a real thing that is happening.
Okay.
So,
okay. All right, Mr. Foy, we'll continue the conversation just after this quick break. Do stay with us. Don't go anywhere. We still have Mr. Rotimi Fakayejoye and more stories from the capital market. This is Capital Market. Stay with us. Welcome back to watching Capital Market live on Channels Television. Well, let's bring you a recap of some of the happenings within the capital market this week. First, the Debt Management Office has opened the offer for a 250 billion naira sovereign sukuk bond being raised by the federal government for the development of road infrastructure across the country. Speaking at a meeting with investors in Abuja, the Director General of the Debt Management Office, Ms. Patience Miha, explains that the offer is open to both retail and institutional investors. The bond, which is the fourth to be issued by the DMO since its first sukuk issuance in September 2017, has a tenure of 10 years and a rental income of 12.80% per annum, which is expected to be paid half yearly.
The DMO had issued 3 sukuks previously in 2017, 2018, and then 2020, and raised a total of 362.57 billion naira to finance road projects across the 6 geopolitical zones. Okay, that has been extremely successful, and both the DMO, as the face of government for borrowing, as well as all of our stakeholders, be it the average citizen on the road, has been impressed with how the sukuk has contributed to economic growth and development. So we decided it has now become one of the instruments with which we raise money for government. So essentially what this event is a DMO on behalf of the federal government is offering sukuk of 250 billion naira to investors, whether they be retail investors or institutions or town association, cooperative societies, whichever, whether they be banks, whether they be insurance companies or pension funds, you are open to invest in the sukuk. So essentially we're using the sukuk to raise money for the government to finance road projects.
And the Lagos State government has signed necessary documents to raise 137.3 billion naira from a 10-year, 13% fixed-rate bond issuance, which is adjudged to be the largest single bond in Nigeria's domestic market. Speaking at the signing ceremony on Monday, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu pointed out that proceeds from the series bond issuance under the state's 500 billion naira for debt issuance program would be used to finance projects in the transportation, environment, and health sectors of the state. To take a listen.
Proceeds of this bond will be used to finance and to execute far-reaching key infrastructural projects that all of you will be proud of. Projects that will be visible, projects that will be impactful, projects that you can speak and reduce the cost of your movement in Lagos, projects that will make life a lot better for every of our citizens, projects that will make our promise, which is to continue to ensure that the protection of life and property is paramount and is critical to us, are some of the things that we're using this project for.
And also this week, Nigeria's second oldest lender, Union Bank, announced the divestment of 89.39% majority stake to one of the new financial service providers in the country, Titan Trust Bank Limited. Statement sent to the Nigerian Stock Exchange. The board of Union Bank says it has received a notification from its majority shareholder, Union Bank's Global Partners Limited, Atlas Mara Limited, and other existing shareholders for the proposed divestment. Chief Executive Officer of Union Bank, Mr. Emeka Okonkwo, explained that the transaction marks a significant milestone in the journey of the 104-year-old financial institution. Well, let's bring back Mr. Rotimi Fakayejoye now to weigh on this. Quite a titanic move there, no pun intended. Well, what do you think about this? A 2-year-old bank taking over, buying majority shares in a bank that's over 100 years old. It's quite incredible.
Well, I think one thing that we need to look at is who are the backers of the new bank, that is Titan Trust Bank.
Right.
Much as Atlas, Marag, Union, Global Partners are strong. I think the people backing Titan Trust Bank are much stronger. We have Luxis, DMCC, which is having about 48% equity holding in Titan Trust Bank. Then we also have Magna, having about 21.84% in the same bank. So altogether, put together those two equity holdings, we have about 70%. Then coupled with another shareholder, I think Alaji Aminu, that has about 9%. And what people were really saying before was that Mr. Tunde Lemon is the majority shareholder in the company. That actually is not really correct, because it doesn't even own up to 1% in the company.
Okay.
So now, I believe strongly that with the kind of financial muscle that Luxis DMCC has, it is a foreign company. I believe they can actually bolster the fund to have an inroad into Nigerian banking more than what they have been doing in
backing
Titan. Yeah, exactly.
Right now, that is the
exactly. So they've been looking at a situation whereby they can actually move in and do real banking within Nigerian space. And it couldn't have been easy to grow organically. And the only way it can happen now is to actually acquire an existing bank. And with this milestone, I believe strongly that Union Bank, I don't know whether they're still going to retain the name or whether they're still going to remain listed on the exchange. We don't know the details yet. But I believe the bank is going to be much stronger for it.
But why do you think they chose Union Bank?
That would be all better for them because of the name that is widespread. But the mindset that people have about Union Bank, I don't really think it will really go a long way for them, because they've had issues, and those issues have really affected them negatively over the years. Because in years past, when we first came into the market in the 90s, we used to see First Bank and Union Bank side by side. They were the two major leading banks as at that time. GT, Zenith were just upcoming. But today, we don't even know what position Union Bank is actually having among the banks in Nigeria. So I believe with this new takeover, I think they are really going to make a lot of impact, and we're going to see them go places.
And it looks like investors were actually excited about this.
Yes.
The price, the stock price for the Union Bank share actually went up.
Yes, they are actually excited about it. And I think it's going to play out very fine, because I believe Titan Trust Bank, they are ready, well positioned, having good financial muscle, and also be able to drive the new Union Bank if they are going to retain the name. If
they're going to retain the name. So it remains to be seen. But how do you see this impacting Union Bank's balance sheet for the full year?
Well, I don't really, there can't be much change for now. Because until they come in, that's when we begin to see their new strategies.
Right.
And also the extent of capital they're going to inject into the company. But for the balance sheet for the year 2021, I won't really see much of a difference.
Right. Well, I believe 2022 is going to be an interesting year. We're looking forward to it. What stocks are you looking at entering 2022?
Well, I think we've had some very fantastic stocks this year doing very well. We've seen some doing as high as about 180% appreciation. When you look at Vitafoam, moved all the way from 7 naira to 22 naira, and that is quite massive. Then we've also seen UCAP, we've seen Total, and all these companies did as much as about 80, 100, 50%, and we have a good number of them. But I really believe that whatever anyone will be investing in right now should be something that can actually give you good return. The major banking sector stocks will still be the ones to look at.
Right.
Because at least they will give you fantastic dividend yield.
Fantastic. I like the sound of that. I like the sound of that. All right, I'm going to thank you right now, Mr. Rotimi Fagejo, for gracing us with your presence on Christmas Day. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Wish you a Merry Christmas.
Wish it.
And you watching at home, thank you so much for watching Capital Market Christmas Edition. I'm Ladi Williams. Merry Christmas.